Welcome back, everyone. Excited to dive in today, really.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting.
It is. We're looking at a really unique tradition today, and within, a really captivating world, a romantically charged realm, I guess you could say. So, buckle up.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is we have this first-hand account, right? We're getting this really intimate look at how this tradition plays out.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to be looking at a solstice celebration. But it's not just any solstice. This is like deeply intertwined with, well, love and loss.
You hit the nail on the head. There's this underlying tension in the source material, this sense of hard-won love, but it's constantly shadowed by past trauma. And it's all happening against this backdrop of trying to rebuild and find peace.
It's heavy stuff, but also there's so much beauty there, the way it's described.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so compelling, the contrast. We're dealing with a celebration that's meant to be warm, intimate, but it's taking place in the dead of winter.
Yeah, and the setting is so vividly described. I mean, you can practically feel the chill in the air. It's like, picture this, a winter garden, snow swirling around, and these shrubs all bundled up in burlap, like they're tucked in for the cold. It's scene of anticipation, but quiet anticipation, like a held breath.
Totally. And that sense of holding, of anticipation, it really sets the stage for everything that unfolds. Because within this setting, we're immediately drawn to this central relationship. And it's clear from the start that this isn't some fairy tale romance. This is a bond forged through hardship. They've been through the ringer together.
Right. And we learn pretty quickly that their love took a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. That there's this mention of sacrifices made. And of course, the elephant in the room, I guess you could say, is Rhee's death. So can you maybe shed some light on who Rhee was and why this loss is so central to the story?
Yeah, so Rhee was, it's clear, someone deeply loved by both of our main characters. Their death is described as this profound, shattering loss. And, it literally fractured the bond between them for a time. It left this huge void. And even though we're told their connection has been reforged, I mean, they described it beautifully, like a river of starflecked night, so poetic. But you can still feel the echoes of that separation, that loss. It still casts a shadow over them.
Oh, absolutely. And you see it even in their day-to-day interactions. There's a lot of subtle detail in the writing. Like there's this moment where one lingers a little too long when touching the other, or the way their eyes are described, kind of distant. And there's this almost unconscious gesture of rubbing their shut. It's subtle, but it's there.
Right, and I think those little details are so important because they show us that the trauma is real. It's not just, something in the past. It's still very much present in their bodies, the way they move, the way they interact. It makes you think about how deeply interconnected our emotional and physical states really are.
It's powerful stuff, and it makes you wonder, how do they cope? How do they manage this pain? And it seems like work, staying busy, is a big part of it. There's this almost dread of quiet moments, like when things are still, that's when the memories really start to surface.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just any memories. We're talking about serious trauma here. The narrative explicitly mentions Rhee's death, of course. But then there's the King of Hybern, who, for listeners who might not remember, Hybern is like this powerful force in their world. And this king, he brutally murdered one of our main characters' fathers. And then there's the fall of the Urians, their people. It's layer upon layer of loss and violence, and they carry it all with them.
It's a lot to bear. So with that in mind, I think the upcoming solstice celebration takes on even more significance. Like you're looking for any glimmer of hope, right? Any moment of peace in all this darkness.
Yeah, you're spot on. And it's right about here that we're introduced to Nala. And through her, the focus shifts to this solstice. And it's immediately clear that this isn't just your average, winter solstice. This is something different, something special.
Yeah, it is. It's described as, quote, intimate, warm, lovely. It's all about simple joys like exchanging presents, sharing music, food, sometimes under the stars. And there's this interesting contrast made with a past celebration, like a huge, wild, days-long party.
That's really telling, isn't it? This shift from access to something more grounded, more meaningful. Like, they're not trying to escape anymore. They're seeking comfort, security, true connection.
And the act of gift giving, it seems especially important. Like, it's not just about the object itself, it's a way of acknowledging what they've been through together. You know, all the near-death experiences, the way they've become essentially family. There's even this quick mention of Nisa and Cassian facing danger together.
Right, and I think that's what makes the gifts so powerful. They're like tangible symbols of remembrance, gratitude. They're saying, I see you, I know what you've been through, and I'm so grateful we're still here. It's beautiful, actually.
It is. And then Nala goes on to explain the sort of dual nature of solstice. It's a time for rest, yes. But it's also a time to reflect on the darkness. Because he says it's the darkness that allows the light to shine even brighter. Which, is a pretty profound thought.
It is, and it speaks to this, like, inherent wisdom in acknowledging hardship. It's part of life.
Yeah.
And it's necessary, in a way, because without it, you wouldn't appreciate the good times as much, the light.
So true. And that's actually a specific ceremony associated with solstice, where they honor the rebirth of light by, get this, spending the entire night in darkness. Kind of ironic, right?
Totally. But here's the interesting part. Our main characters, they don't participate.
Yeah, and I think that choice speaks volumes. I mean, they've been through so much darkness, both literally and figuratively. A symbolic gesture like that probably just feels, I don't know, pointless, maybe even a little insulting.
Yeah, like they've lived the darkness. They don't need to reenact it.
Exactly. So instead, we see our protagonist getting ready for the day in her own way, and there's this very conscious decision to choose comfort over, well, the forced elegance of the past. Like she specifically picks out a heavy charcoal sweater and fleece-lined boots, which is such a stark contrast to how she was treated before, like a prized breeding mare, to use the narrative's words.
Wow. That imagery, I mean, it's such a powerful statement about reclaiming her agency, her own sense of self. She's prioritizing her well-being, her comfort. And I think that says so much about how far she's come.
It really does. And then there's this small detail, but it really stuck with me. It's the silver and sapphire ring she wears, the one she won from the weaver in the wood.
Ah, yes. Such a small thing, it's so symbolic. Like, it's a reminder of her strength, her cleverness. She earned that ring. And I think it represents this personal triumph, this victory.
And it's interesting because that memory is immediately followed by the recollection of Straga's death, another casualty of the King of Hybern. It just highlights how complex their lives are, Even in moments of victory, there's still this lingering sorrow.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that healing isn't linear, and that the past, especially when it's filled with so much pain, it stays with you.
So I think through this really intimate look at their solstice celebration, we've gained a much deeper understanding of their traditions and also just the emotional depth of these characters. I mean, they're so resilient. You can't help but admire their strength.
Yeah, and it makes you think, how do we find those moments of light in our own lives after we've been through something difficult? How do we celebrate that return to hope?
It's a question worth pondering. And if you're interested in exploring more of these themes, more of this world, then you know what to do. The link to subscribe is in the description below. Join us as we continue to unravel these tales of love and destiny.
Until next time.
See you then.